Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church, Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and this is another video in the series on churches in Derbyshire, particularly in the Peak District. And this is the Church of St John the Baptist, Bamford. Now, until 1860, Bamford was a part of the parish of Hathersage. Hopefully the previous video on this channel is going to be about Hathersage. In those days, villages were small and scattered, but as industry grew in the Peak, so villages grew, and so the little hamlet of Bamford became a significantly sized village, and yet people still had to walk all the way to Hathersage. It's not a huge distance, by the way. It's about 10 minutes drive, but it is still a significant distance if you're walking it. And so the vicar, Mr. Cottington, decided that was it Cottingham? I think it was Cottingham, in fact. He decided to build a brand new church here in Bamford. He raised funds for the purpose among the local gentry and also among the local ordinary people. And the architect who was engaged was William Butterfield, who was one of the leading Victorian Gothic architects. The result was this magnificent building here, and it's a very good example of Butterfield, I think, at his best. It's a building that is big and grand and impressive and has this kind of 14th century feel to it, but at the same time, it's a building where you've got plastered walls. It's a building that has been designed with the fact that this is a village church. It's not a church for a country house village, it's a church for a village of farmers and miners and quarry workers. So as we look around, we'll see some of the features that illustrate how the Victorian Gothic revival worked, and some of the features that kind of indicate when it didn't, and when Gothic revival is sometimes not the best thing in the world to do. So without further ado, let's have a look around. As I said, it's about 1860 it's opened. It's begun, I think I forgot to mention that, it's begun in 1857. So 1857 to 1860 when it's opened, and it remains much the same, but with notable alterations that have been made just to fit it to continue to serve the present age, as Mr. Wesley would have put it. So let's have a look around. So we begin here at the west end, and you can see, looking east, you've got your typical the Victorian Gothic structure. There's a single aisle, not uncommon to have just the one north aisle. There's a very much 14th century style. You've got your columns, and two of them are round and the remaining one is octagonal. Now, we are here, of course, at the West End, and so what else is at the West End? It's the font. The font is loosely based on a Norman tub style, and we can see it is a gift from Thomas, heir of Moorseats, Hathersage, the heirs being the big local family, and some of them stayed Roman Catholic, others obviously became C of A. Gifted in AD 1860 when it's opened. Now, this is made of this fossiliferous marble, and you can see you've got a whacking great bowl in there. You could dip a young infant in, but the Victorians didn't tend to go for dipping, so it's, why are we doing this? Well, because that's what a medieval font would have been like. And it's one of the downsides of the Gothic revival is there's too much in the way of, well, let's just imitate the Middle Ages without asking why they did it. A useful modern addition is the little kitchen here, and it has a list here of rectors, and you see going all the way back to 1860, which of course is the first one. There's a little kitchen area here, first aid cupboard. Stained glass patterned here. We've got here Zacharias and Elizabeth and John the Baptist baptizing, and recollect this is dedicated to John the Baptist, so John the Baptist style window emphasises this, and this is given by Henry Cottingham. He was Cottingham, who was sometime vicar of the parish of Hathersage. Of course, he's the man who gets the movement going to build this church. We have a wooden pulpit, again on a stone base, open-sided. we've got these open back benches. You can see the umbrella holders, which in the Peak District are very useful. Most of the windows are this patterned glass rather than pictorial. There's the Lady Chapel, and behind the Lady Chapel is the organ, which is a magnificent instrument. We have here the choir stalls, and the organ is a 2-manual. Don't see a maker's, well, oh no, there's the maker's plate. I know some folk find these things interesting, and it's quite interesting. It's rebuilt with additions by T.C. Wilcock Limited, Priory Organ Works, Sheffield. So double manual pedal board, quite a fancy organ, which is very much fits with this kind of church. And looking west, we've got a central west door. There's a porch outside, quite a big porch, and this wheel window. Butterfield liked these wheel windows and the porch and west entrance, which is actually more continental. It's something you'll find more often in France than in medieval English churches, which tend to have the south porch design, as you may have noticed if you've watched a number of these videos. We have not a sedilia and piscina here, but we have a big open arch here. That is the bishop's chair. If the bishop ever comes here, and when the bishop comes here, because he has to come here sometimes, he gets to sit there. There's the altar table, and behind you've got the eagle lectern, and you can see you've got a combination ceramic and alabaster reredos. The east window illustrates the great fact of the Christian faith. This Jesus hath God raised up, whereof we all are witnesses. And this same Jesus shall so come in like manner as ye saw him go into heaven. So the resurrection and the ascension. And then at the top we have the angels praising. Poppies again, because we are Remembrance Tide. So it's a magnificent building, nice roof in Butterfield, open roof, and your single aisle with the modern kitchen at the back, and there's the font and a modern lectern. I suspect the eagle lectern is regarded as too valuable to be used on a regular basis, which again makes some sense. You'll notice not a lot of memorials, again because it's 1860 and it's not a parish with a lot of rich people in, and it tends to be the rich people who leave their memorials. Well, we'll have a little look around here, look down the aisle. The stone, of course, is local stone because, well, this is a stone quarrying area. Many of the people who worked here would have been people, if you see there, the British Legion flag at the back. The British Legion is a veterans organisation. And here we have a picture of Derwent Parish Church. This is the church that's demolished when the Derwent reservoirs are built, or when Lady Bow reservoirs built. So there we are, St John's, how the sage on the inside. We'll go outside and have a look around and say some things about that. And so here we are outside at Bamford. The main road goes by here, so there'll be a bit of traffic noise, but that is unavoidable. And you see here you've got what was the vestry block here. So vestry is here, and then you've got the nave. You've got your tower is fairly tall and slender, and there's a pyramidal spire, so it's a four-sided spire, which is quite a simple design. Normally spires are octagonal, which is more complex, and there's a chancel. And as we have a look around, we'll see the spire and the other notable features. So let's have our external tour. So here we are, Bamford, St John's Bamford on the outside, and you'll notice as we look up here, we'll look up at the spire, and you can see it's this slender pyramid, four-sided spire. That will be the old vicarage there, the rectory, of course, because it's built as a rectory, not a vicarage, which means that how the sage gave up the tithes from here. But obviously now a private house, as so many of these are. nice local stone where we're now. And you can see some of it has been stained by local heavy industry. A heavy industry that now has disappeared, so we'll just have a pan around here, and you can see here the hills, and here are the old the houses of the village, solid stone houses, and back to the church as we thread our way through the graveyard, because one of the things about these parish churches is they were built with burial grounds for the locals. It's all, of course, on the south side, because historically, traditionally, the north side was disfavoured, and this carries on into the 19th century as just a tradition. And after all, if you're building a new church, you can just build the church wherever you like, and if you build it one end of the graveyard, you can go all the way here. We have here a war grave, Private J.F.W. Harlow of the Royal Warwickshire Regiment, 7th November 1918, just before the war ended, and it's a reminder that the guns falling silent on the 11th wasn't just a formal thing. It really was the end of a long conflict. There, we can't really go down the north side again because of this business that the church is built right at the north end of the site, because wouldn't you do it if you could? And it means that the graveyard just stretches all the way way there. So you've got to be a bit careful in terms of. There we are. You can see lights strung up there, ready to illuminate when the time comes. And there's the Lich Gate. Oops, sorry about that. And the doorway. The tower is offset, and one of the reasons for doing that, you can see there's the rose window on the outside. And you've got these holly bushes outside. One of the reasons for offsetting the tower like this is that it meant that if the client couldn't afford the tower, then the client didn't have to get the tower, and the tower could have been left unfinished. But in this case, it was finished, and yes, that really is the time. It really is almost 2:45. And you can see here, this is what we can see on the north side with that low aisle, which makes for, of course, again, fewer windows. But as we have seen, that's quite normal. It's quite normal in the Middle Ages. So we'll conclude it here, and I'll just say a few closing words to camera. So there we have it, St John the Baptist, Bamford, a very different church from Hathersage, the mother church, a building that's built to serve a growing industrial community in the 19th century, and a building that reflects this Victorian Gothic passion of William Butterfield. And I do apologise for the traffic. I can't do a lot about it. The church is right on the road here. But so there we are. I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed making it, and I don't just say that because that's what you expect to say on YouTube. I do enjoy making them. I do enjoy sharing these reflections on church history and church architecture with you. So until next time, may God bless you and keep you.